right, what is going on, everybody? My name is Jake. I have a special guest here. I'm kind of nervous about. He's the president of AIM Growth. He's the vice president of Edge Home Finance. My boss, Tom Ahles. Let's hear if I can. Oh,
Bam!
Oh, there we go.
Got it.
Let's go. Tom, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun, man. It's been fun watching you find your groove. You
Yeah.
know? It's for those of you that know, I run an internship program every 6 months, and I really look for somebody that, truthfully, that I like, but also that I see potential in. And as a growing organization, we were the number one purchase broker in the country. We're growing. We have some lofty goals, and I think you're going to be a great originator someday, but you also have a good skill set with doing these kind of things that are helping your real estate partners grow. And I'm looking at it and I see the joy that it brings in you to do it.
Yeah.
To where it's like, man, let's find a place that you're going to thrive and do well in. So I'm pumped to have you, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I thought we could start with kind of like your origin story, your childhood. I guess, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Your parents, all that stuff.
All right, we got tissues? No,
Yeah.
that's not. So initially I was born in Florida, Fort Pierce, Vero Beach area, and parents divorced when I was really young. Don't really remember living in Florida too much. I have a couple, small memories from then, but moved to a small suburb of Akron, Ohio, and moved there probably when I was, 4 or 5 years old, and grew up in Ohio. Went to Norton High School, which was a little, like I said, a little suburb of Akron, Ohio. I know my big claim to fame back then was playing basketball with some NBA players that turned.
All right.
Yeah. We had LeBron James was in our school district area, or like our league, and a couple other players that came out of there. For some reason, there's two things that always come out of Northeast Ohio, either serial killers and sports athletes. So
And where do you fall in there?
Yeah, that's why I moved, I think. Thank goodness. I didn't fall under either. But it was a really, I still love that area. My family lives there. It's a good place to, I'll say, raise a family, but not much for growth, right? If you're in sales or you like helping people, it's like you got Cleveland Clinic, you have a lot of stuff in medical, but I mean, truthfully, I was not a good student when it comes to going to college. Like, I saw my friends going to college, and for me, I jumped right into the workforce as I was in the nightclub industry. And even when I was in high school, I started working as a bar back, and I really liked it. I liked working. I liked working hard. I liked providing help to who my manager was at that time. And when it got to the point where, as soon as I graduated high school, I was still doing that, and they were going to shut down the location that I would say I was running. I was assistant manager at that time, and I was 18 years old, and this was on the east bank of the flats for Banana Joe's, and some people would call it Banana Hose. It's so funny when I talk to people all the time, like, you worked with Banana Hose? And I'm like, yeah, it was fun. But they came in and they're like, hey guys, we're closing down. And at that point, I'm like, well, what do you mean you're closing down? You have a great location. Like, what are you missing? And they weren't making a lot of money, so I knew why they were wanting to close down. But being young and, full of piss and vinegar, I was like, hey, this is dumb. Like, why don't you just do this, this, and this? And I met with a guy that owned the company at that point. His name was John Field.
Shout out, John.
Yeah,
we know you're watching.
Yeah, I wish. I haven't talked with him actually in a long time, but don't let me forget. I'll tie his story into something that really helped, concrete our relationship. But he said, well, fine then. You think you got it all and you know how to do it? Fly down to my office on Monday. And he lived in Dublin, Ohio, which is close to Columbus. And so I flew down there on Monday. I had my little, my notepad with everything. I think at that point it didn't even have the perforated edges. I was not, I wrote down all my ideas. I put out a budget and I said, here we go. This is what I think we can do. And I left that meeting with the old school check envelopes, to where it was like this huge checkbook thing.
Sure.
You have a budget of this. Let's see you do it. So we shut that location down, revamped it, spent a lot more money on marketing than changing the actual spending money on changing the environment itself. We spent it on marketing. And then I went out and went to all the fraternities and sororities and local colleges and found who the influential people were and invited them and like, hey, free
Smart.
tab for you, but bring your buddies. So we did like maybe 16,000 a week prior to us closing, and our opening week we did 430,000 in
Jesus
sales.
Christ.
So we blew it out of the water, right?
Okay.
So it was fun. So from there, they were like, okay, time to go to the next spot. So they moved me to Dayton, Ohio. I think I was 19 at that point. And I remember like they were like, okay, I need you to go in. I need you to fire the general manager, call locksmith, change the safe combination. And
Jesus.
It's like, I'm not even old enough to order a drink in these bars yet. And I'm going down and firing the GM, placing
Who the fuck is this kid?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But part of it, my wife had this conversation last night. It was like for a long time in my life, it almost felt like faking it till you make it. But when I got the opportunity, I knew I had to work twice as hard as somebody that didn't have the shortcomings that I had. They didn't
Sure.
have a college degree. They didn't, have the experience. So for me, it was a test. And I just approached it that way to where, in that industry, you have a lot of fun. So it was tough not to get pulled into just the partying and having a blast because I like to party and have a blast too.
Yeah.
But then we did the same thing. I did it in Dayton, Ohio, and it just kept progressing until it got to the point to where I was able to, take a higher position with that company and was really in charge of. We had 38 clubs all over the country to where I was an integral part on looking at marketing strategies. We got into mergers and acquisitions with other national nightclub chains because you had to. You'd have to have a 10-year lease in most of those places, and the shelf life was probably 2 to 3 years, right?
Okay.
It's like even now you think of your most popular club you went to when you were in your young 20s, they don't exist anymore. Like it's
Right.
very rare for that type of business to survive. So, I was able to put us into a position where we started trading clubs in with other national nightclub chains. So it was a blast until it wasn't. And
Let's pause there.
Yeah.
We skipped over what I want to know about
Yeah, all
your
right,
childhood.
let's hear it.
Let's go into your childhood. How do you think your parents would describe you as a kid?
Wow. Little Boss Man.
Okay,
Was a nickname that I had from my grandfather growing up.
I feel like that fits you perfectly.
Yeah,
Where did that come from, do you think? Was it just instilled in you? Did you have a hero you looked up to as a kid that you're like, man, I want to be like this person? Or
Not really. I think it was more a little bit defiant, and I even see it with my own daughter now. Like
Okay.
almost like I don't.
is that good or bad?
I think it's double. Right? It can be bad if it's not followed up with work ethic.
Sure.
So, for me, it was like, I don't know. I was always willing to give my opinion, and we have a couple team members in our office. They'll come in and say, I have some unsolicited advice for you. So they always like preface it to where they want to be heard. And 99 times out of 100, like it's good advice. Like I need
Sure.
to be open to hearing it. And from a young age, to me, it was like I was going to give my opinion, even if it wasn't. They didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So which is why I got canned that title. Plus, growing up, I had a lot of fun. I was good at throwing parties. You can. If you get to meet my mom, which I think you probably have before,
Yeah.
but she'll tell you
Like in
like
Vegas.
Yeah, when I was younger, they went on a vacation somewhere and came back, and we had no sheets left in the house, and I had a big toga party, which was awesome. Like we had a good time.
Animal House.
Can't I say it was like, now looking back on it, like please, Camille, don't do these things, because it was probably illegal because we were charging $5 at the door
Right.
for the solo cup, and
That's how the nightclub thing got started.
that's kind of how it got started. Like
That's
I like
hilarious.
this, I'm good at it, and I enjoyed it. So. I have a brother and a sister growing up. My brother is an Army veteran. He was 6 years older than me. My sister was, 8 years older than me. And my mom was a single mom, like why I grew up. So a lot of it was, my mom had to work all the time to take care of us. We grew up in poverty, but I didn't know that because it was like, even to this day, money doesn't give you happiness, right? And you get to a certain point in your career and you cross over a threshold to where it's like some of the most successful people that I look up to now Matt Ishbia with UWM, or even some of the leaders within, I'll say competitors, but other broker owners in the industry, they're not getting up and starting at 4 a.m. to make another $1 million, right? Like it's what drives them. It's more of like the culture of a lifestyle than what it is like I have a job to do. Like I like it. Like it's to me it's a lifestyle, right? So my brother and I are still close to this day. We've gotten closer as time went on. He's actually coming out and helping me with one of our veteran events, our Fishing for Heroes event that we're doing. And we have a good friendship. My sister and I have a good friendship. I call my mom every day on the way to work. So I make time for that. I'm like thankful that my mom is around. My mom remarried when I was probably 12 or 13, right at that age where it's really tough for a young man to have somebody else come in and start telling you what to do. And it was tough. Like it was tough at that point because him and I butted heads because, I was the boss.
Right.
And he's like, no, that's not how it goes. But, I watched, looking back on it, I watched what was important to our family, where he took care of my mom, he took care of the family. It gave me stability that I didn't even knew existed, right? So, a lot of that right at that time was, instrumental in me feeling confident enough to like step up to the plate to even do some of those things,
What, if I can ask, what happened to your biological father?
He passed away from cancer, from colon cancer. But he wasn't really involved in my life before that, right? I don't know exactly what happened. There was a long period of time for me that, I was calling him on my birthdays. I was calling him at Christmas. And, I finally got to that age to where I just realized, like, if somebody doesn't want you in their life, I don't care if it's family or if it's friendships or like, it takes effort to maintain a relationship.
Sure.
Right? So
I can relate totally.
Yeah. So I finally got to the point where I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm not going to call my dad on my birthday. Like I got to the point to where I realized it. So I just moved on. And then my uncle Tony called me one day, and I was 17, and he said, hey, your dad's dying of cancer. We're heading down to go visit him. Would you like to come? And my first initial instinct was, no. Like, what the hell do I want to go see that guy for? And then I was like, oh, hold on. Let me get my ego out of the way. And like, this is like, when I look, if you see a picture of my dad growing up, like identical, like still to this day, it's crazy when I look at pictures of him when he served in the military.
Identical to you?
Yeah. So it's like, why am I going to lose that opportunity to really like, hey, I need to understand what happened, because, you don't just abandon your kid unless there's something else going on, right? So I got to go down there, have closure with it. He apologized, kind of gave me the background of, hey, I'm sorry. Some people are just shit people sometimes, even though like that's not who they are. And he was a shit person for quite a long time, but he got to the point to end of his life to where it's like gave us both closure.
How did that make you feel?
At that point, I don't know. I would say to this day, I still struggle in processing feelings. I'm a little guarded, probably from a lot of the stuff that you're hearing with my childhood that you're throwing out. Like to me, I don't get too emotionally available for things that are going to hurt me. It's kind of, I'll say, a protective measure of mine that I've had to work on a lot with even my wife. Why we have a great relationship, but why we still go to marriage counseling, because it's important to try to identify the things when you were younger that helped form you. So
I can relate 100% to that.
Yeah. So it was,
like, why waste my time and energy on something that could hurt me?
Yeah, exactly.
Or leave me or whatever.
100%. So. So shortly after I went down there, and then he passed, and it was good. I had closure. I got to meet. He was remarried at the time, and I had his wife had a daughter that was close to the same age. So I got to meet her, hang out with her. We're still friends to this day.
What's your dad's name?
Same name. So.
Right.
Yep. So I'm Thomas Joseph Ahles II. He was Thomas Joseph Ahles. So same name. That's why I say, like, if I show you a picture of growing up, like it's freaky to me even looking like, holy smokes, I didn't serve in Vietnam, but why am I in a picture? Like, it's identical.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Growing up, I mean, I'm sure every kid had it, you know, especially going through puberty. What were like some of your insecurities that you had?
You know, a lot of it was trying to fit in. I think the same thing that kids do now. I was so my core group of friends growing up, my buddy Nate, who was captain of the basketball team, my buddy Matt, who was captain of the football team. I was golf.
Okay.
So I wasn't really popular, didn't have any girls that liked me, but I was also... I wasn't an asshole either. You know, I kind of just, I don't want to say stuck to myself because I had a good network of people. But, you know, insecurities, I wasn't a good student. School was tough for me. Like, to this day, you know, I learn by doing, not necessarily like reading, reading an assignment. Like, even like you'll notice my training style when you have, you know, been with me now for 6+ months, like, I'm not the best teacher. I'm a much better doer. So, like, I'll show you how to do it.
I was telling Josh, I was like, Tom will give you enough rope to hang yourself.
That's kind of it.
Yeah.
And that's how I work best. So it's like, I can't, you know, I think being like now in my life, like my core fundamentals of who I want to be authentic and I want to be honest.
Right.
You know? So, like, I'm honest about it. Like, there's people that are, you know, they always say, if you can't teach. Well, I can't teach, so I do.
Yeah.
But some people learn better that way. So
sure. So you're fairly successful. You work your ass off. It's not like it came with luck or you had, you know, a fortunate background. Your parents were wealthy. You work your ass off, and you know, what to you is success?
Doing better than I did yesterday. You know, I mean, to me, it's like looking at, you know, how did yesterday go? Where did I fail? You know, almost micro improvements to where, you know, whether that's with a technology that can help me be more efficient, if it's, you know, communication style. I did a course with Renee Rodriguez for like kind of the neuro aspect of communication and feeling comfortable with talking, public speaking. Really, like, success for me is not something I'm chasing, because I think once you hit that plateau of like, okay, I'm successful, then what's next? Like, to me, I enjoy the journey of being better than I was yesterday.
I like that.
So,
a quote that I think embodies you as a person is a quote by Nelson Mandela stating, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but rising every time you fall." Can you tell me about a failure that you struggled with and what you did to overcome it?
Yeah. So,
whether it be business, personal, relationship, something that sticks out in your mind.
You know, to me, I would say one of the biggest failures that was instrumental was the last mortgage collapse in 2008, to where, you know, I built a fairly successful company, had a good partnership, was really, I thought I had it all figured out, right? And then just realizing how blind I was to, you know, how young I was in business and not understanding the cyclical nature of every business, right? The good times, the bad times in this industry, you know, especially in the mortgage and real estate industry, you'll see companies that I was at an event in Naples last week, and Willie Newman, who owns Home Point, was like, you know, there's months where we did 10 billion and there's months where we do 2 billion. And like, you see some of these old timers that have found a way to navigate that to stay successful, right? And not only to stay successful for yourself, but when you're a business owner, you know, you need to be successful for the people that rely on you, for their families, for their health insurance, for, you know, their well-being, to take care of their families. So, you know, one of the biggest lessons that I learned was, you know, it's okay to run a lean company and have boundaries. Like, I'm a giver, you know, and like, for me, I would give the shirt off my back if somebody was cold to help them. But from a company perspective, you know, you can't give everything away, because you risk going out of business and affecting. For us right now, we have close to 700 employees. if I'm, so giving and I'm not driven by money, then all of a sudden, well, wait a minute, the livelihood of all the people that rely on us to run a sound company, I'm failing them. So, that was something that went to me on an order of like really understanding, being okay with making tough decisions, right? Especially right now in an industry where I think things are going to get a heck of a lot better this year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but the last year, I mean, for a lot of people in the mortgage and real estate industry was rough. You watched a 61% reduction in mortgage applications. Well, basic math, we take somebody in a salary position and cut it by 60% and watch what happens. It was tough for a lot of people, but I think leveraging a lot of the experience that I had from losing before and from failing kept it to where I could give input to my partners, and they're exceptional at it for the same reason, right? Like Chris and Chantel, who owned Edge to start with, who founded the company with me. They went through the same thing. Chris had a great company that kind of the same scenario. Like it folded, and what did you learn? How can we come together to be better at making sure not only that doesn't happen, but how do you recession-proof a business?
Right.
So when you look at it from a failure aspect, yeah, I failed. Filed bankruptcy, lost everything, moved back to Ohio. Like I said, I always moved back to the nest. And was had to even. I remember even like to this day having to call my dad and like, Dad, can you? My stepdad. And I was like, I need you to help me pay my cell phone bill.
Sure.
And I remember that it was like it was a little bit defeating, and not a little bit. It was defeating. Like, well, wait a minute. I was a guy with 2 boats, so one on the river, one on the lake, and houses, and it's like, what an idiot. Looking
a lot of
back
humility in
but,
that.
Some of that's too the difference between new money and old money sometimes, right? Like
Sure.
For me, I never, there wasn't anything in school that taught you how to not only save, but to prepare. And to me, I was excited. Like where you make, there's people you make $20,000 a month and you're spending $21,000. And that's kind of how I was going because I thought that growth was always just going to continue. Then looking back on it,
interesting.
it's just like the housing industry, right? In
Right.
2006, 2005, there was 20% appreciation year over year. So, even when you look at some of the, lenders that were out there that were offering 100% financing, you could fog a mirror, here you go. Well, why was that? Well, they're looking at the fact where that house is going to appreciate by 20% every year. So,
right.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And then you watch what happens. So it even happens on a larger level with that mindset to where, like, for me, I'm done chasing shiny objects, right? Like, to me, I'm going to stay as lean as possible. I'm not changing my lifestyle. Like, we've been, now granted, I guess we've gotten a nicer car here or there, or like, when I talk to my wife and she's like, well, maybe we should think about, moving over to this place or this, and it's like, no, I don't want to change it. We're happy. Like, let's save and just continue to be prepared for a rainy day. And more importantly, when Camille, my daughter, goes through those same steps, I'd like to be there for her rainy day.
I like that.
So, that was, I would say, one of my biggest failures that I learned from. I think I came out better, and I got a great education from it.
So I've noticed, everybody that I've, watching in the office, I'm trying to think of how I can phrase this, but everybody in the office gravitates towards you. You have that leadership vibe, that aura of just, even when you don't know something, you're able to demand like that respect. And what's it like, everybody's around you all the time. What's it like when you're alone with your own thoughts? What's like your neutral? Like, how do you feel? I guess because you're constantly drop the phone, talking to someone, email. You're always interacting.
Yeah.
When you're alone with your own thoughts, what does that look like?
It's a good question. I don't know that. It's
probably been a while.
Yeah, I don't know that I put myself in that situation just because I don't. I don't like being alone.
Right.
I don't know if there's something more there, but truthfully, like for me, I don't. When I go home now, there will be time where my wife wants to talk, and I don't feel like talking. I just want to be quiet and shut off,
Quiet but present with her.
Yeah. But so like for me, that's why I like, I like cycling, right? To
Sure.
me, that's a activity that I get to do. It's one of the only ones that shuts my brain off completely because, you're riding in a pace line and you need to be paying so much laser focused attention or your whole team can be wiped out behind you with the lapse of, judgment or lapse of clarity on what you're thinking about. So, for me, I find I find that happy spot when I'm there. But in general, like, I don't know, I guess if I was to be put into a room to where I had to just sit and think,
Yeah.
I would be thinking about like the same things I always am. What can I do to help more people? What can I do to improve on? Like to me, it's more of, as I said before, it's more of a lifestyle for me.
Sure.
It's not really, I don't know. I'm always kind of the glass half full kind of guy. I don't like negativity. I tend to shy away from cancerous type people that have negativity. And
I know when I still do this. I kind of half jokingly talk down about myself sometimes. And I remember I said something like, I asked you a question, you gave me the answer, and I was like, oh, I'm so stupid. Or something. You're like, stop, don't say that. Because you're basically...
Yeah, it's self-deprecating.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a defense mechanism. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, though. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know it's kind of a redundant, like over-asked question, but if you could predict the future, where do you think you see yourself in 5 years?
Truthfully, I think it goes back to the same question of what defines success for me. It's better than I was 5 years ago,
Define better, though.
So, I set goals, right? So from a company's perspective with Edge Home Finance, my goal is to not only be the biggest, but the best, right? I think I'm a big fan of quality over quantity, but I know that we have something special here, right? So for me, I feel like I would be doing people a disservice almost if I'm not out sharing that message on why I'm passionate about it. The same reason why I serve with AIM, to me, it's not, you get some cool recognition from it, but the core fundamentals behind it on helping people help more people, coming together to be better, like sharing ideas, collaboration, to me, that brings me joy, right? So, 5 years from now, I mean, truthfully, my goals are not a monetary goal. It's like, I want to have, I want our company to be, in 5 years, I want it to be 4,000,
Sure.
Right now we got about 515 originators. So, I'd like to continue that growth just because I've been so plugged into this industry that I know without a shadow of a doubt, there is not a better place if you're an originator to originate loans, right? It's like I've looked at every option and I've joked, I say it jokingly, but it's truth because you get a chance to be close to me all the time in the office. Like I take recruitment calls still even. And like, well, tell me something I don't know. Like, is there a way I can serve my clients better and give them better rates without sacrificing the revenue or sacrificing my team members? And the answer is always no. Right? Yeah. There hasn't been one person that's been able to deliver on the value proposition that we started 12 years ago at this company that, to me is still there and has never wavered. So
you have a way of networking with so many different people from all walks of life. In such a divisive society we live in now, politics, whatever. How are you able to be that chameleon and fit in with everybody? I know for a lot of people, their identity is their political belief, their religion, their gender, sexual, whatever. How are you able to connect with so many different people in a way without letting your beliefs or whatever get in the way?
Yeah, I mean, so my beliefs are positivity.
Okay.
And if somebody if somebody isn't positive or striving to be positive, then those aren't the people that I'm attracting anyways. So, for me, it's like I hate politics, right? I mean, I could be, I could be one day like, yeah, I like this guy. And then the next day, like I could tell you even from a voting perspective, I voted for two different parties at times. You know what I mean? Like I don't align with an ideology. I align with, I think, facts and positivity. It really is. It is. I mean, that's why I don't tout myself from a political standpoint and say, oh, I'm this or I'm that. Like who's the best person for the job and what do they bring to the table? Yeah. From a friendship level, like even in this industry, there's some people I know for a fact that, even though they network with me or close, they're takers, right? And I'm not a taker, right? Like to me, if I can help you, even though I know you're trying to take advantage of it, like the world has a way, whether you're spiritual or religious or whatever, like good things come to good people, right? And it's not always like, I'm not always looking for a relationship of what I can get out of it. Most of the times what I'm getting out of it is, a natural connection. Now, there was a period in my life to where I grew up, where, I was in the nightclub industry, as we talked about. And part of that is drinking all the time, right? Sure. It's just part of it. So there was a period of life to where I spent sober for 8 years that, I had to relearn some things, right? I had to relearn, like, how do you have relationships based off of, like, somebody's character, Like, what is it? But before, for me, like, my friendships prior to that stint in my life was, like, who can I go party with? Because it was fun, and I was trying to find something that we related to that was good. Well, after going through that period, it was like, okay, now like what are the values that I look for in friendship? To me, it's like, okay, are we driven by the same thing? Which is really, are you the guy that if we're looking to climb a wall and I can jump higher than you and get myself over the wall, but you can't. Are you the guy that gets on your knees so that your buddy can step on your back to jump over, and then I jump over and follow? Like that mindset, as rare as what it is, I've met a lot of people that share kind of that same mentality. So, thankfully, we have a lot even within our office here, right? I mean, you see it all the time to where there's people that help all the time, help me, help you, that they don't have any financial gain in it. Right. It's just they're good people, So, I think to be able to connect, with a vast group of people, like you're stating, just being authentic. Like I don't need, and I think this was like kind of our core value with Edge, why we're having a lot of the sex here. We don't need anybody to make us more successful, right? We founded it based off of a servant leadership mentality. Like to this day, I still want to be our number one producer. I like competition for one, but to me, it also speaks to, like what I respect in a leader. Like I mentioned Matt Ishbia. To me, I think it's cool that guy is there at 4 a.m. He's the first person at work. He can tell you how many minutes it takes for me. He hits this little obsessive. I'm not going crazy like that. Like I need a life, family balance. Sure. But it's like the mindset of how people are driven that like I try to learn from everybody around me. Sure.
Yeah. I lost my question that I was going to ask. What do people misunderstand about you the most? You think from an outsider's
this is a
perspective?
Funny one. So I will say one thing. Some people think I'm a little too extra. Like I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So my wife and I, we've been remodeling our house forever, right? For almost close to 4 years, and we got a hot tub. But when the delivery was coming, we were the first ones to, of the delivery for the day, and there's 4 hot tubs on it. I probably had, 500 people like, oh my God, you got 4 hot tubs?
Wait, you got 4 hot tubs?
Yes. No, we got 1 hot tub.
Oh, okay.
See, that's the extra part where people think like, man, come on. Like, what the hell do I need 4 hot tubs for? Like, I don't mind. It was amazing to me how many people think like, wow, that's really extra, you know? And I'm not, but I think it's funny when people, it has to be some sort of misunderstanding, but I don't really care either because it's funny. There's comedy involved with it. So I'm like, No, I don't have 4 hot tubs.
For someone who is, in my opinion, so successful and works so hard, you're honestly pretty modest. You have a beautiful home, but you're not driving a Ferrari. I mean, it's a nice car, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but you don't carry yourself like you're better than everybody. My buddy Matt, who I connected with at Success Track, I think people think that you're so busy, and you are busy, but so busy that you're not wanting to help other people. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. I think your willingness to pick up the phone, we'll be talking, and then you'll be like, hold on. And you'll pick up the phone, and it's someone that needs help.
Yeah.
And you're like, sure, what's up? Let me help. Without expecting anything in return is so rare. And it's a pattern I see around the whole office. If I need help, if I have a question, everybody's willing to help.
Yes.
If they have time, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
Without expecting like, well, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I had, there's a gal that, Erin, we'll give her a shout out, Erin Harper.
Shout out, Erin.
Yeah, in Florida. And she came in, one of the people that originally I hired on. And then I saw her post something in our internal group like, hey, I need help with this. And I'm like, well, how come you're not asking me? Like,
right.
What's going on? She's like, well, I know you're so busy. And I was like, well, let me ask something. Do you want somebody helping you that isn't busy? Because, typically if somebody isn't busy, they don't have much going on because
right.
they don't know, they don't know. Like I try to make, like, to me, that's what brings me joy. Like,
yeah.
I like helping people. Like,
yeah.
just straight, honestly, like I don't need, I think that's the way the universe pays it back. It's kind of ingrained with me with even I do BNI, right? And why I love their slogan, like givers gain, Like
for people out there, can you describe what BNI is?
Yeah, so BNI is Business Networking International. So a lot of professionals, and no matter what space you're in, that benefit from a referral network,
sure.
right? So you take a small business owner that, every originator is a small business owner, right? Like your success is based on the trust that you demand in your community, the trust you demand with past clients. BNI is a way to plug into a network of people that, you're basically, if you have a meeting of 20 people, I get to go in and give a commercial.
Yeah.
And the purpose of me giving a commercial, and they train you on this, is to, how can I pull something out of someone? Like instead of saying, hey, I'm looking for anyone who needs a mortgage. Well, that's ridiculous. Like, it's not pulling anything out of people's mind. They train you on saying, well, I'm looking for your Uncle Steve, who was just divorced, that you were sitting with at Christmas dinner, and he was telling you about the neighbor at the crappy apartment that he's renting. Like, it helps you create a story,
sure.
To where you get better at, asking for referrals, right? And then what you're doing is empowering all 20 of those people to be salespeople for you, right?
Yeah.
Like you take a small, there's a guy that owns a small family-owned tile and a tile shop that you can see on my social media. I just shared, like, for him to help him grow his business. But we are all coming together as like sales for the other person. Like if somebody comes across my desk and they need something, and I have a network of people that I'm connected with, it's a great way to not only help them, but you have the accountability, right? And the accountability is I meet with them every week. And, I'll be damned if somebody's going to screw over a client of mine and I see you every week. When you pass a referral to someone, just like, our agents that trust us and passing a referral,
it's your reputation.
That's their rep. I mean, to me, I don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
Because that means you trust in me. That means you trust me to not only get the job done, but to deliver, a client experience like they would want to support their reputation. And I think that organization helps me a lot with getting better from that aspect. Like, it's just, put yourself in rooms to where, truthfully, you're the dumbest guy in the room is something that I've tried to do for quite a long time, right? And, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm not learning anything.
Right.
I failed. So, for me, it's always about trying to learn new things, being around people that are inspirational, being around doers and not talkers. You know? I think a lot of times people have goals, but goals without execution is fantasy. So, I don't want to live in fantasy land.
What? How much more time do you got? It's 10:34.
I don't know what time we got. I think my recording was at 10:30.
All right. Last question then. How do you want to be remembered?
I want to be
you're gone?
remembered for just being authentic, right? I mean, I don't have a cover. I want to be transparent. I've struggled. I've made stupid decisions at times. There's still things to this day where occasionally I do something dumb.
Sure.
You know, nobody's perfect. Not to get all religious, but there's one person that's ever been perfect in this world.
Yep.
And for me, I just want to be better than I was yesterday, and I want to be trustworthy, transparent, and authentic. Authenticity is something for me that for a while that I didn't feel that I had. So I had to back away from some of the things that I was doing because it didn't align with being authentic. So I think if there's one word, what I want to be authentic.
Awesome. Tom, thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it. Whenever I can sit down and listen to just you talk, even if it's on the phone, I always get something from it. And I think you have a lot to offer to people, and just watching you work as well is just inspiring. So
yep, I appreciate you, brother. Yeah. I'm looking forward to see your growth with us. I think you got a special talent.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what we accomplish together.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. Again, this was Tom Ahles. Where can they find you?
So TomTheBroker.com is the easiest way if you're a consumer looking for a mortgage, or if you're an originator, processor, or maybe just looking for a job and want to learn more about the mortgage industry. Just reach out to me. My email is tallis@edgehomefinance, or you can go to our website, edgehomefinance.com. We have a new website coming out soon that Jake's going to be helping me with here with Join Edge. I think it's joinedgehomefinance.com, but we're still working on a lot of that. But Jake and I are connected on social media. I like being connected with people. So, as you know, I tend to always be available. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next Monday. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and have a great rest of your week.